and welcome to everything you wanted to know about Canada, but were afraid to ask. Canada. We are a large northern landmass, and by and large, we have enjoyed 141 years of peace, order, and good government. And our official summer sport is lacrosse. Basically, that's all you need to know. Oh, one other salient fact. According to a recent Dominion Institute poll, a majority of Canadians have no idea how Parliament works, which is fine. We're all very busy people. We have lives to lead, families to raise. We're on hold with Rogers, and to be honest, it is perfectly understandable to enjoy something without knowing how it works. Such is Canada. After decades of stability, we were suddenly faced with minority governments, talk of coalitions, and the threat of an election every 6.5 weeks. But we took solace in the fact that we are one of the greatest democracies on this earth, and at least we know who is ultimately in charge. Well, not really. When asked, who is Canada's head of state, 75% of Canadians could not answer the question. And who can blame them? The answer is ridiculous. It is the Queen of England. Now, for those of you unaware of her work, she's an elderly lady of German descent who lives in a castle across the ocean. In fact, in order to become a Canadian citizen, you must swear an oath of loyalty to the Queen and her heirs. Luckily, I was born here, so I've never had to do it. Now, unfortunately, the Queen is a very busy woman. She has 9 dogs. And when she doesn't have time to pay attention to Canada, which is, let's face it, always, she has a representative who lives in Ottawa and is in charge of Canada. No, not him. Next slide, please. The Governor-General, in the Queen's absence, assumes all her responsibilities and duties, and according to our Constitution, must be of sound mind and have hosted an arts program on the CBC. Okay, that's not true. There's no test for her being of sound mind. In this country, nothing happens until the Governor-General says it does. Laws do not get passed. Parliament does not sit. Elections cannot be called. We do not even go to war unless she says so. But to be fair, she takes her orders from the Government of Canada. After all, we are a democracy. Although, granted, it may not seem like it yet. So, who runs this great democracy? Well, according to the polling, a majority of Canadians believe that Stephen Harper was elected directly by the people of Canada to run this country. Unfortunately for Stephen, that's not true. He holds the office of Prime Minister, but he was elected as a simple member of Parliament. And the only reason he's the Prime Minister is because in his other job, he's the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. And if he walked away tomorrow, the party would just pick some other dude to be Prime Minister. And we'd have nothing to say about it. It could be this dude, or it could be this dude, or it could be... No, it couldn't be that dude. Okay, but wait, it gets weirder. The Prime Minister only keeps his job as long as he enjoys the confidence of the House of Commons, which means on an important vote, a majority of members, regardless of party, must stand up and say, yes, we support you. And if they don't, well then it is back to hanging out in your strip mall constituency office in Calgary Southwest. Humiliating, yes. But the advantage of our system is that if our Prime Minister decides to do something completely insane, we have a mechanism to remove him almost immediately. And some countries, they don't enjoy that luxury. And when a Prime Minister loses the confidence of the House, the Governor-General, if the Queen is not in town, will dissolve Parliament and call an election. Or she can go behind door number 2 and ask another party leader if they have the confidence of the House. If the answer is yes, then they become the Prime Minister. That's the way our system works. Now, Stephen Harper found himself in this position less than 9 weeks ago, after his government announced that in their best estimation, after crunching all the numbers, after taking in all the information, Canada was in fine financial shape and would post surpluses for the next 5 years. Now, some people raised an eyebrow. Other people, like every leading economist in the country, raised 2. As a result, a majority of MPs made it clear that if he didn't come clean with the numbers, they would fire him and form a new government. Some people may call this a loss of confidence. Others may call it an intervention. And at this point, the Governor-General prorogued the House of Commons. Prorogued being Latin for technical difficulties, please stand by. Canadians were confused, and Stephen Harper's caucus provided calming analysis. Pierre Blackburn said the opposition was attempting a coup d'etat, a violent overthrow of a duly elected government. Bob Deckhart, he called it treason, punishable by life in prison. And Heritage Minister James Moore said, "My dog wears a raincoat." All of these statements are patently untrue, except for the raincoat, which is just embarrassing. The important thing here is, despite the hyperbole, Stephen Harper, fearing for his job, said, "Oops, on second thought, we looked at the numbers again, mistakes were made, charts were held upside down, and Canada is actually going to post an $87 billion deficit." Whoops. And when the dust settled, Stephen Harper was still the Prime Minister, and Canadians finally had a clear picture of the economy. And the important thing to know is that despite the confusion, the talk of coalition, and the ridiculous accusations of treason and the suspension of Parliament by an unelected former broadcaster, a system that seemed to be broken was actually hard at work. And that is everything you wanted to know about Canada, but were afraid to ask. God save the Queen.